Yesterday I was pretty hurried, both of these days, trying to get the story of Gilgamesh told in two 10-minute sections. I'd like to not be in quite so much of a hurry today, purposely not. As a matter of fact, I'm even going to take a moment to stop and remind you of what's going on. I'm teaching a course. This is my 26th day. It's online. I've made mistakes. I've had trouble with the audio. I'm in a barn. On a farm, I'm retired, all this stuff you probably know if you've watched many of these at all. Otherwise, go back and look at the first one, 1.1 and 1.2. Also, these are a set of notes that I highly recommend that you take. You can see them. The table of contents is in video 9.2 and 9.3, and I can't remember exactly where it was that I explained about Josh Wagner's notes. But you can see a complete set of notes from last year under humanitynotes.webs.com. And there they are. They're not identical. They never are. All right. The reason I told you the story of Gilgamesh is mainly because it's the world's oldest known story. We're reaching back 5,000 years. And yet, 5,000 years ago, we can see that humans told stories that aren't all that different from the stories humans still tell. In many ways, humans haven't changed much at all in these 5,000 years. Their accoutrements, their culture has changed, but what's in their head, the stories they like, they're recognizable. They absolutely work. And archetypes, that's, I think it's section, I think it's 3.1. In the notes, that's where we were working yesterday. Archetypes are kinds of characters that keep showing up all over the world, where humans tell stories. When humans have told stories, certain kinds of characters start showing up. And I've been pulling certain ones out of this oldest known story. And I want to go on. When we get to when Gilgamesh uses the ferryman, as in Charon, the ferryman in Greek mythology, it's the boatman who takes him out to the island. He finds out from Utnapishtim that there has been a world-destroying event. There's been a flood. And as you listen to that, surely you began to think of the story of Noah's Ark. It seems to be practically the same story, complete with the birds going out after a period of time and coming back. Slight differences, but that has been studied by scholars, trying to figure out why is that story so similar. It really seems to be practically the same. But it is very common still to have events in stories. Some event comes that basically destroys the world. You'll often have a sole survivor. I guess if you didn't have a sole survivor, there'd be no, or a survivor, you'd have no one to tell the story. Well, anyway, in this case it's a flood. Sometimes there's an earthquake. Sometimes it's a volcano. Sometimes it's disease. There's so many stories about a plague coming and killing off everybody except for a few sole survivors. Alien invasions, War of the Worlds. But really, in a way, that's what happened to the Americas. They were kind of done in true history by the alien invasion of the Europeans coming, and of course with them bringing disease. Anyway, it's very common. You've got some event, and climate change is another one. I wanted to say, at this point, I'm missing having my students live, because I love to run this stuff by them, and they come up with these ideas, and some of them are really funny, some I never think of. Archetypes is one of the ones that the kids just get the most excited about, because they see their literature. It applies to their literature, especially their literature as children in cartoons and things. Well, sole survivor, Utnapishtim, he was the sole survivor. Him and his family. Sometimes there's others. Well, Noah, I put him in parentheses because in the Hebrew story of Noah's Ark, Noah is the character and seems so similar in so many ways. The kids reminded me that Superman was the sole survivor from his planet. I guess he was, I don't know how old he was, 14 years old or something like that, when his planet exploded and he was a sole survivor. Robinson Crusoe, in a sense, is a sole survivor of a shipwreck. Swiss Family Robinson would be similar. Hatchet, I don't know who Hatchet is offhand. It was in a student's notes. I looked, and they said they are, and they can usually, I make them convince me, especially when it's literature that I don't know. And they're usually very happy to convince me, and apparently some year they must have convinced me that that was true. Well, Gilgamesh finds out that he can't stay awake. That's right, I did tell. I went so fast. I told you that he had to stay awake, and he couldn't, so he wasn't going to get eternal life. But he had the chance to get the plant to keep him young. Well, that's not quite as good maybe, but anyway, a youth preserver. Well, there's the plant in Gilgamesh. Well, the Fountain of Youth is probably the most famous. If I can't get kids to come up with that, sometimes I'll say, well, I think this is the reason Florida was discovered. They were looking for the Fountain of Youth. I've never actually read Puck Everlasting, but the kids all tell me that, oh, there's a spring. There's a spring in Puck Everlasting that keeps you this way. Vampire Bite, I guess that's true. I mean, is it the same archetype? I don't know. Sometimes I'll put them in there just because the kids are so convinced of it. If you have doubt about something, if you want to put that in and you're not so sure, you can put a question mark in parentheses. Oh, and notice I'm going e.g., that says, for example, exemplum gratis. I'm using stuff I taught you at the beginning of the year. I'll gradually forget to do that probably. Also notice that I'm tabbing in. Add other examples of your own if you think of them, or comment. Send me a comment. Tell me, hey, I got a great one I'd like to tell you about. That would be good. I missed that. And then the evil force, right at the end, when Gilgamesh is going to, he's got the chance to be young forever, but then the snake gobbles it up. Well, I like to point out that that's a snake. And I like to think of it as not just a bad guy, but an evil force, because the snake in the story of the Garden of Eden, of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, I just said Genesis. Once again, it's a snake that takes away a human's innocence, according to that story. That of course is Satan, an evil force, Lucifer. Kids haven't, they're quick to, well, the devil. Voldemort, I think that's spelled right. May shock you, I haven't read all of Harry Potter either. But anyway, he seems to be not just a bad guy, but an evil force. Sauron certainly is in the Lord of the Rings. And Darkseid, I'm not sure. I got that in the kids' notes. As I told you, I miss this, having this feedback to keep me honest with this. I'd usually erase it at every class period and see what the kids would say. All right, I'm going to have another video today, so I hope you're back for that.